Yeah, now
There
you're
we
not as tall
go.
as I am.
All right, guys, I'm here with Kevin Doherty, the head coach and the boss of Hassle Free Barbell. Today, kind of want to start the conversation off of the difference between coaching and dealing with kids and kids and adults. You kind of started off with kids. Now a lot of your kids have
Are
grown
young
into grown into some pretty big badass weightlifters as adults. So kind of want to get your take on the difference and how you deal with your younger athletes versus your older athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're blessed. When you get somebody when they're young, you have a little bit more control. But I think the challenge is as they get older that you have to relinquish the control to them so that they end up controlling their weightlifting. When they're 14 or 12 or 16 and they're in high school and you're organizing their trips and organizing their training, you're calling all the shots. And for me, I'm a teacher, so that works, that fits. But once they get out of high school, you have to slowly kind of give all that back to them, because if you don't, they're never gonna do it for themselves. And you want them to do it for themselves because weightlifting is an individual sport. And they're the ones lifting the weights. And then the way that I see my role change as they get older is, instead of a weightlifting coach, I now become now that I have children, either a father figure or a life coach. So if you take somebody like, I think the best example is right now is like D'Angelo Sorio. So D'Angelo Sorio started when he was 14. So in terms of what he was doing in the gym every day, he was in my class, he goes to the training center, and that kind of helped change the relationship. I became much more of an advisor.
Yeah. A manager.
Yeah. And I think even without the training center, so you look at a couple kids that are in the program now, Megan Siegert was in high school in another place, but now she's here in college. But she has the control because she made the choice to come and train with us. And then, Benoit is coaching her, but Benoit is coaching her because she wants Benoit to coach it. So she is running her weightlifting career. We're just there to assist.
Now, when you say control, let's look into that a little bit more. What kind of control are you giving them? Are you mean with feedback from what they want for programming, their competition schedule?
Yeah, I think it becomes much more of a conversation. So, for example, we'll go back to D'Angelo. When he came home from the training center, he wanted something different. So we tried a couple things, it didn't work. He was up and down. He had gone long and hard, so he kind of needed a break. So he took a little bit of a break. He got a little tweaked up, but we took advantage of that break where Rob Earwicker came in and is now programming for him. So I get an email every week about what he's doing, and it's not much different from what I would have him do.
Right.
It's just coming from a different voice, and then I'm just there to support him. I'm there to make sure that at the big meets I'm there to help him. When he comes to Lincoln, where I'm coaching, he knows when I'm available. He knows when other people are available. So if I'm not available, that's fine. I'm on the way out. He's on the way in. Hey, let me know how it goes. Send me the videos. But when it comes to the big decisions, like, hey, do you think I need to push for this team? Or hey, what are the numbers? Obviously, now that Rob's involved, we talk.
Right.
But he is in control of his workouts. But when it's really crunch time and it's numbers and it's something that you don't want an athlete to have to deal with, we have the control over that because he trusts us. You know what I mean? Whereas when he was in high school, it's like, D'Angelo, you're doing this, and this.
To the
Boom.
T.
Exactly. And at the training center, Zygmunt would tell him this.
Right.
Boom. Now it's more like, hey.
I think the longer you deal with an athlete, they and especially the better they are, I think they earn the right.
Yeah.
They earn the
That's
right to have some say so.
Yeah. To be a part of the conversation.
Right.
Because then it's a much more collaborative effort, and it is much healthier. There's just tension because you're empowering them to be the best that they can be.
Right.
And by doing that, they in turn trust you more.
Right.
Because they see that.
I think they also feel that they have ownership and control of what they're doing, and it's not almost kind of, well, how do I say it?
They own it.
Right.
They own it.
They're not being necessarily told exactly what to do.
Yeah, it's more
Or at least
symbiotic.
At least that's the perception.
There's some like give and take. Like, hey, like this morning or this afternoon, I was over having a conversation while the kids were training in the training hall, and one of our middle school kids, who's pretty good, comes over and says, "Hey, coach, I did this. I snatched this. I clean and jerked this. I know you want me to squat. Can I squat tomorrow? I'd rather do some bar work, like I want to do some good mornings or some military presses." And at first I was like, "No, I really want you to squat because you haven't squatted all week because we've been prepping for this meet and you've had volleyball this or whatever, you know." And then I'm like, wait, somebody who's come over and expressed what they wanted. She's at the junior nationals. At some point she's got to own a little bit. She's 12.
Yeah.
But she's got to own a little bit of her training. Otherwise it's like, there's no way she's going to learn.
It's also one of your athletes too that's strong as hell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but it was like, hey, we'll squat tomorrow when you're
Right.
when you're not as tired, you're not on plain blood. I need you to squat before you lift, you know. And she understands. I don't lift till Sunday, so if I do it on Friday, then I should be okay by Sunday.
Now, let me ask you this: if you get someone that's older, or college age, or just out of college, that starts, someone that's older biologically, but their training age is very young, do you give them that control right off the bat, or is it a little bit more structured and similar to your progress of your kids? You have to earn it.
They have to earn it, but they earn it a lot faster. And I don't coach those kids. Somebody else coaches those kids because they're usually, I don't have the time, nor do I have the desire, because all my energy is focused on the kids in my class or the kids that are coming that are 12 or 13.
Right.
Whereas the other coaches that are there later, that's their opportunity to build that relationship and build up their coaching resume. Like for example, there's a kid, Anthony, who was a weightlifter in high school, but he wasn't on the weightlifting team. He was working a little bit with MASH and was doing okay, but he was hurt. So he's making a transition. So it's like, hey, dude, if you're going to make a transition and you're in our gym, why don't you let us take over a little bit to get you back up? And now he's here at Junior Nationals, been in the American Open. Now he's kind of built up the relationship where it's an easy back and forth. Like, hey, This is what I think I need to work on. Well, here's the program. What do you think? Like, hey, this isn't feeling right. I think I need to work on this more. Or like, hey, I really need to get stronger because I really had a tough time standing up with some clean and jerks because he's so new. He's still having those issues, but now he's 20 years old, so he can recognize it a little bit sooner. So I think that learning curve is a lot steeper.
Yeah, I think it also, there are athletes that kind of know their body a lot better than others.
Especially if they're coming from other sports.
Right.
So
for you, those
like for you, the
athletes.
two in your gym, Jake is played another sport, and basically started weightlifting, in his 20s. He had lifted weights before probably, but he wasn't a weightlifter.
Right.
And Cecily, who had started training when she was 18, 19, she was a volleyball player.
And dancer before that.
So she knows like, hey, this doesn't feel right. I know I need to work a little bit more like in the middle of my snatch, or hey, for Jake, I need to work on my squat strength, or hey, my jerks are really good, but like, this is struggling. Like everybody always has something,
right?
Or it could be something like, I need to make sure I'm taking my protein after every workout, because like D'Angelo Sawyer is 100 kilos. It's like, D'Angelo, like I'm not going to bug you about your snatches and clean your jerks.
Just imagine what he's going to do when he's a full 105.
Exactly. So my job is like, hey, every time he sends me a text message, it's like, are you eating?
Right.
How many times have you eaten
Well,
today? Have you been to the gym to do your dumbbell shoulder press in the morning? You know?
But at that level, you're almost busting their balls, and you know,
Yeah.
trying to build. It's you say it with a smile as opposed to saying it with
Yes,
upper hand.
yeah. When he was a high school kid,
Right.
way different, bigger
Yeah.
battles, bigger battles, you know, because they're 14, 15 years old,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I found that the older the longer the athlete's been with you, and the older they are, you gotta. If you're stern with them, you gotta follow it up with a smile.
Yeah, I think I think the advantage that like I see for me, I'm always the same way. I'm not hot and cold. I mean, I'm having my good days and my bad days,
We
but
all do.
like I'm the same way every day. But I have other coaches that are a little bit different than me. So if somebody gets to a point in their lifting career where it's like, you know what, this is just not working. I'm not in high school anymore. I'm gonna go over here, which is fine.
Right.
But since I'm the same way, it's never come to the point, you know, even if you do get frustrated or you're on somebody and they feel like it was like, wait, that's the same guy that was on me about the same thing, but who took like a week out of their life to go to the World Championships with me and to make sure everything went all right. You know, so it's like as long as you're consistent, regardless of what your personality or your coaching methodology, if you're consistent and you're fair, you know, on who goes on trips, you know, who's doing what in the gym, are there any favorites in the gym, you know, as they do get older, how much more responsibility do they have? You know, that was a big battle for D'Angelo because he was gone for so long. He didn't realize that being part of a community means not just lifting big weights. So this past weekend, I was more impressed with his demeanor when he wasn't lifting. He came on Saturday to work with some of the kids and film. You know, he clean and jerk 208, you know, won some money, and then he helped load boxes. You know, he took Ian Wilson back under his wing for his first weightlifting meet in, you know, a year and basically did all his warm-ups with him. So it's like, that's when you see that relinquishing of like, you've made it, it's your weightlifting, I'm just here to help you because you're doing all the right things and I don't need to bug you about the little things.
Right.
You know, so I think, you know, and I've been lucky, like it's been 9 years. So it's been a lot of ups and downs in 9 years, but finally at a point now where he's lifting for himself. He's always going to represent our team. There's always going to be a little of him that's going to represent his coaches and his team, but it's his weightlifting.
He's earned it.
You know, yeah, exactly. He's earned to own all of it. His failures and his successes. You know, he clean jerked 208 kilos. I didn't do it. I counted. That's all I did. And it was easy because he was going last.
Yeah.
But he did well because he had done the work and I was just there to share that journey with him and just sit next to him and just enjoy it almost because I wasn't coaching. I was just along for the ride at that point, you know, because the work had been done.
Right.
So I think that's when you've really made it because you then just see yourself as a partner. You know, hey, you know, the time I did put my foot down is like he wanted to go to 160 and what I discussed with Rob, who was programming for him, it's like, no, dude, you're going to 155. That was the goal for this week.
Say that for Reno.
Exactly. But then that's where
But
that relationship
right,
is.
exactly.
He felt like he had earned the right to express himself, but at the same time, listened, had success, and then upon reflection after was like, you know what, coach? You were right. That was the plan. We should stick with the plan because we had talked about the plan. And it would be unfair to Rob for me to step in. It's like, hey, Rob's the guy that's been programming for you. I'm just here to kind of like guide you. Why would I come in and supersede Rob's plan?
Right. Well, that's
You know?
kind of where we come in at that stage as the managers, because you know when you're feeling good at that, right, the heat of the battle.
Exactly.
You
So
know,
we gave him
right.
we gave him one choice. What's your last clean and jerk after he made his second clean and jerk? And lo and behold, he picked the exact same number I would have picked. 208. Nothing too crazy. A big jump, an 8-kilo jump,
And
and he looked really good. But it was what he felt like he wanted to do. For your last one, then yes. Do you want to go for a PR? You're only going to do that if you're looking good, but B, the numbers dictate that. You know, and he understands that. He understands that if the numbers don't dictate it, if 204 is going to make the team, but 211 is a PR, you know, that's when the coach takes ownership. It's like, we're going to 204. And the lucky thing for us is like we've never made a mistake with numbers. We're usually pretty good with the numbers, and other people make mistakes, which builds up that relationship, and they end up telling you just whatever you want, coach. So it's like at that point, you know, like with Donovan at the Pan Ams, whatever you need on the third one. Okay, well, this is what we need, because we can't get here, but we can get here and be at a certain medal position right now and put the pressure on the other guy.
Right.
You know, so I think that's the advantage I have starting since they're 14 or 15, that trust.
Yeah, well,
You know.
that's one thing that I don't think a lot of coaches have at this point. It's not a whole lot.
I
of
would say
coaches in the
I
USA.
could count them on my
One
my
hand.
hand.
You
There's Ray Jones,
Yeah.
but even Ray is having a phenomenal successful team, but none of his kids are in college yet.
Not
None
yet.
of his kids are. Well, he has a girl who's pretty good, but none of them are out of college. Has he coached people that are out of college? Yes, but it'll be very interesting
start
to
to
see
finish.
how that progresses, even for Ray, like how he changes or adapts when those kids are out of college and they're young adults,
Right.
based on that great relationship he's had with them since they were in middle school.
I think
You know.
I think Dane Miller is probably one of the other
Yeah.
guys that will have that, because a lot of his youths are going into juniors now, and
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, you know, I'm trying to think.
it's hard to keep an athlete that long.
Yeah. I mean, MASH has some high school guys that are coming in, you know, but he has mostly people that are coming in their late teens, you know, when they're
Junior
juniors and they get to move and stuff. And not that that's not important. That's huge to have that. But it's Dennis Sneathen, something
Right.
like that. Who's been around a
Yes.
long time. Who's, you know, I remember
Marissa.
exactly. How special is that relationship? Wes Barnett, how special was that relationship? You know, Pete Kelly, like proven, like the kid started when he was 14, whether he went to the training center or not, like the progression was there the whole time, and Dennis was there every step of the way in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
You know, so
That's a small list, man.
I know. But I mean, that's because we're in a high school, you know?
Right.
And like we've, you know, I think, you know, we've surrounded ourselves with good enough people. There's like 5 or 6 other people coaching now. I don't want to say that I'm not still. I still think that I'm the driving force, because I understand my role at the high school and what it entails of exposing as many kids to weightlifting as possible, and getting them into this funnel, and then having all these other people that are the checks and balances.
Right.
So it takes the pressure off of me. Like,
But it's taking you how long to be able to create that?
this is your number 15,
Right.
but it's gone by like that,
I'm
like crazy. I still
Slow
remember
days, but fast
I
years.
still remember when D'Angelo and David, those guys came in when they were like, you know, freshmen in high school. Like,
Well, that video you posted, Jenny Lamb, that was
oh yeah,
her
that was
first
cool.
meet. That was
First
wild.
yeah, that was after like, you know, 6 or 7 weeks of training after track season, which was
Yeah.
And now she's coaching.
Right.
She's still lifting at a high level, but she's coaching.
Well, and for you, and that kind of ties in the whole thing of, the ownership
Yeah.
and the.
She's asking me for help now.
Right.
I'm not telling her. She's like, "What do you think, Coach?" It's like, "Well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I think, because you're asking me, and B, you own your program. If you want to do more snatches and clean and jerks, I'm all for it. You just tell me what you want to do, you know, and then we'll work within the confines of the program.
Right.
But if that means we're going to take 3 extra sets at the end of a working set because it feels good and you want to do more stuff off the floor, then that's what we're going to do,
Yeah.
you know. And if you want to do less and squat more, then okay, all right. You're 23 years old. Like, at some point, you kind of know what you need, you know.
Right. That's true. All right.
All right.
That's good, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to the technical meeting.